1965, December 6, private ERCO Ercoupe F01 lost with pilot and one passenger, en route from Fort Lauderdale to Grand Bahamas Island. The ERCO Ercoupe is an American low-wing monoplane aircraft that was first flown in 1937. It was originally manufactured by the Engineering and Research Corporation, ERCO. Shortly before World War II, several other manufacturers continued its production after the war. The final model, the Mooney M10, first flew in 1968 and the last model year was 1970. It was designed to be the safest fixed-wing aircraft that aerospace engineering could provide at the time, and the type continues to enjoy a faithful following. In 1931, aeronautical engineer Fred Weick was assistant chief of the Aeronautics Division of the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA. In 1934 he asked permission to build an aircraft based on the 1931 Stout Skycar, using fabric instead of aluminum covering, and control modifications based on NACA research. Weick and a group of co-workers designed and assembled the experimental aircraft with a group of his colleagues who worked on the project in their spare time and paid for it themselves. The resulting aircraft, known as the W1, featured tricycle landing gear, a parasol wing, and a pusher propeller configuration. Fred Weick listed the W1 design goals that were tested in later seminars: tricycle landing gear with cast-ring nose wheel, steerable if desired, suitable longitudinal and lateral stability with limited up-elevator deflection, to prevent loss of control due to stalling and spinning, a glide control flap, to control operation using controls for pitch and roll. In 1934, the Bureau of Air Commerce approached Weick's team looking for standards for a competition for a safe and practical $700 aircraft. In 1936 the winner of the competition was the Stearman Hammond Y1, incorporating many of the safety features of the W1. Two other winners were the Waterman Airplane and Erocoupe Autogyro, the Autogyro Company of America AC-35. The W1 was not intended for production to qualify as a competitor, but was purchased by the Bureau for continued experimental tests in spin control safety. After the prototype W1 underwent a forced landing, an updated W1A was built by Fairchild, incorporating leading-edge cuffs. Weick left NACA in 1936 and joined Engineering and Research Corporation's, ERCO, fledgling aircraft team as chief designer, primarily to continue improving his aircraft design. Focusing his efforts on a number of design issues, primarily simplicity and safety, Weick strove to create a reasonably priced aircraft that would not stall or spin. Retaining the tricycle gear for ease of maneuvering on the ground, and limited stall spin features, Weick switched to a low-wing monoplane configuration in his new model, powered by an engine-in-tractor configuration. The ERCO 310, which included a fully cowled engine, made its first flight in October 1937 at College Park Airport and was soon renamed the Ercoupe. The easy-to-fly design included unique design features, including a large glazed canopy, with almost as much visibility as a bubble canopy, for improved visibility. The prototype 310 featured an ERCO-made inverted four-cylinder engine, the ERCO IL-116. Which was quickly dropped due to its high manufacturing cost compared to the new four-cylinder Continental A65 air-cooled boxer engine. Lacking rudder pedals, the Ercoupe was flown using only the control wheel. A two-control system linked the rudder and aileron systems, which controlled yaw and roll, with the steerable nose wheel. The control wheel controlled the pitch and the steering of the aircraft, both on the ground and in the air, simplifying control and coordinated turning and eliminating the need for rudder pedals. A completely new category of pilot's license was created by the CAA, for Ercoupe pilots who had never used a rudder pedal. The Ercoupe was the first aircraft certified by the Civil Aeronautics Administration, CAA, as characteristically incapable of spinning. The high-winged General Skyfarer obtained the second certification by licensing the ERCO technology. The first production Ercoupe, serial number 1, and C15692 built in 1939 was donated to the National Air and Space Museum. In 1941 that aircraft, designated YO-55, was used in U.S. Army Air Force testing. The two-seat ERCO Ercoupe F01 went on sale in 1940. Life magazine described the aircraft as nearly foolproof and showed pictures of a pilot landing with his hands in the air. Only 112 aircraft were delivered before World War II intervened, halting all civil aircraft production. By mid-1941, aluminum supplies were being diverted to war-related production, so ERCO decided to manufacture Ercoupes for military use by using wood as the principal building material. The substitution of wood resulted in a heavier but quieter aircraft, because their wood absorbed vibrations from the engine and airflow. Ercoupes were flown during the war by the civilian pilot training program for flight instruction, and the Civil Air Patrol used them to patrol for German submarines. Although World War II had interrupted production of the Ercoupe, general aviation manufacturers were enthusiastic about the prospect of a post-war aviation boom. Thousands of men and women were trained as pilots by the government, and the hope was that they would want to include flying in their civilian life. Production of the Model 415C resumed in 1945, and in 1946 alone 4,311 aircraft were produced and sold at a cost of $2,665. This was the same price as in 1941. At its peak, ERCO was turning out 34 Ercoupes per day, operating 3 shifts per day. The aircraft was aggressively marketed through unconventional outlets such as the men's department of the Macy's department store chain. However, private aircraft sales slumped after the war and the bottom dropped out of the civil aircraft market in late 1946, ending prospects for a boom market for civil aircraft sales. A 30-day layoff at the factory in November resulted in rivets tossed around the factory and some aircraft sides and signs being painted. The year ended with an Ercoupe flown by a test pilot and mechanic breaking up in flight. In April 1955, Univair sold the Ercoupe type certificate to the Forney Aircraft Company of Fort Collins, Colorado, which later became the Forney Aircraft Company. The aircraft produced differed from the 415G in its engine, propeller combination. They were upgraded to a C90 engine, revised engine cowling, larger baggage compartment, and aluminum-covered wing panels. The F01A model had 3-axis controls and bucket seats. Production began in 1958 and ended in 1959. 56 of the F1 Forney Deluxe were produced in 1958 and sold for $6,995 each. 59 of the F1 Forney Explorer, Executor, and Expeditor were produced in 1959 and sold for $6,995. 23 of the F1A Forney Trainer were produced in 1959. It was sold for $7,450. A total of 138 aircraft were produced. The Forney Aircraft Company continued development of the ERCO Ercoupe F01G, as the F1 Ercoupe powered by a 90 horsepower, 67 kilowatt, Continental C90-12F. They also built the Forney F01A, that had standard 3-axis controls, to be sold as a basic trainer. On December 6, 1965, a private ERCO Ercoupe F01 was lost with the pilot and 1 passenger, en route from Fort Lauderdale to Grand Bahamas Island.